Now with us to discuss the matter is Denys Kolesnyk, political analyst. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So let me ask you, do you think that this plan will work, this cordon sanitaire against Marine Le Pen and the National Rally?
Let's be clear. At the beginning, actually, before the first round of the elections, we were thinking that the possibility of Rassemblement National winning the excessive majority, or almost this, 289 votes out of 576, was quite close. But right now we understand that it didn't happen, and most likely the mechanisms and tactics that were adopted by Le Nouveau Front Populaire and the presidential majority will help them to make, as we say, the barrage to the Rassemblement National. So, but at the same time, we may be expecting, and I guess it may be one of the most plausible scenarios, as I see it right now, is for us to have actually the three-party system, is basically where after the second round of the elections, nobody will have the decisive majority at the parliament.
So you're saying that if the parties who are in opposition to National Rally get together and they want to build Republican front, quote unquote, so the chances of National Rally winning an absolute majority is unlikely, is not possible at all?
I don't see them winning the decisive majority, as I don't see actually Le Front Populaire or the presidential party to win the majority. So I guess, as I see the figures right now, most likely we'll be having somehow a three-party system where three parties will have votes, but nobody will have the significant amount of votes, except for if we have some kind of an unpredicted, let's put it this way, outcome, and Rassemblement National arrives with, let's say, 280 votes, and then maybe they will be able to find nine other votes to have the decisive majority. But I don't see it happening as it is today. But the problem is that the things are changing quite quick, and every day we have new data, new information, and then some changes that we can observe.
Right, but in either case, Emmanuel Macron is facing this possibility of cohabitation, right? Having a prime minister from a different faction. So Jordan Bardella said that he will not govern a minority government. So who else could become the next prime minister of France?
And I would like to come back, by the way, to his decision and his declaration, and he's absolutely right, because from the one hand, saying that he will not be the prime minister if his party doesn't get the majority may stimulate people to vote for him in the second round. But at the same time, it is a smart decision because, for obvious reasons, he may face, if, let's put it this way, today his party gets the majority and his almost the let's put it this way, 289 votes. But then he may face the motion de censure, which means the vote of non-confidence, and his government may last a few days. So that's quite a shaky situation. That is why he insisted on this. At the same time, it is quite difficult to say who may be able to chair the new government. And I guess without having the final results, we will not be able to see this candidate.
But would you say that everything is in the hands of the voters in that case? Because for the Republican front to work, it means that voters would have to vote for candidates they don't really see eye to eye in many cases. Now, do you think this is a possibility? Because the turnout in the first round was very high. What do you think will happen during the second round?
The problem is that we have some data actually, and 66% of those who voted for the presidential majority, in case of a candidate, in case of a situation where there is a candidate from Rassemblement National and Les Insoumis, or the LFI party or Nouveau Front Populaire, will vote for this party. But at the same time, we have 33% who may, for example, either abstain or vote for Rassemblement National. And while the situation is quite better when it comes to the electors of the Nouveau Front Populaire, it's 84%. They would support the presidential majority candidate if he faces Rassemblement National. As for the turnout, to be honest, we don't have data on which we could rely. So it is quite difficult to foresee whether, because, I will give you an example. We have 20th arrondissement in Paris. It is 15th circonscription. It is 15th voters district, where result in the first round of the elections, they have both candidates representing the left. So one is officially supported by the Nouveau Front Populaire, and another one, he is from the divers gauche, as we say, other lefts. And in other circumscription, we have, for example, the person from the presidential majority and the person from Nouveau Front Populaire. And at the same time, if an elector voted for Les Républicains, for the Republicans, do you really think that he would support, for example, Nouveau Front Populaire? I don't think so. And at the same time, they may also have tendency to vote for Rassemblement National. So really, the situation is quite shaky. And also, what we know right now is that 3 of 4 French voters will not be listening to the recommendations their party will give them in terms of the second round. So which means we don't really have the information on which we could really rely to forecast this election. The situation may really change, and it is changing every day, to be honest, because we've seen after the first round we had more than 300 triangulaires. It's the situation where 3 candidates arrive in the second round instead of 2. But right now we see that we only have 89 triangulaires and 4 situations where there are 4 candidates.
We only have a few more days to sort of wait, but no matter what the results will be, Emmanuel Macron needs to stick with this government for a year, right? After a year, he is allowed to call another snap election. So my question is, A, if you think that he will do that, and B, what policies, perhaps some of the key issues will be put on hold for this entire year?
It all depends, to be honest. If we consider that Rassemblement National and part of Republicans will have the absolute majority, they will be able to, for instance, vote the budget. And the budget can be also voted if there is a stronger, let's say, opposition from the Nouveau Front Populaire and the presidential majority. They may use the 49.3 article of the Constitution and pass the budget without the approval of the parliament. At the same time, Emmanuel Macron has the possibility to, for instance, call on the Constitutional Council in order to analyze reform. And it happened actually during the migration reform, and the Constitutional Court, we know it, blocked a lot of amendments that it judged that were non-constitutional. So what I'm trying to say here, really everything depends on the final results and what kind of configuration we will see at the parliament and what kind of government we will have. Who knows, maybe some kind of a real cohabitation will be possible, even though I'm quite skeptical about it. But at the same time, maybe we will see the different governments succeeding one another, maybe 2 or 3 governments in a year, and then the snap elections. Or maybe snap elections all alone after a year. To be honest, it's really difficult to forecast what may happen.
Now, the announcement of these snap elections was a surprise to many. Now, how is this decision commented in the circles close to President Macron and also people in media? Are people angry that he actually announced this and he made that decision for these elections to take place?
I would say that this decision was honest, because he extremely lost during the European elections, and he needed the legitimacy to continue to govern, because we remember that since 2020 he didn't have the absolute majority, and de facto actually we had this tripartite system in the country. But at the same time, I guess he miscalculated, because maybe he was counting on the fact that the left parties like Parti Socialiste and the LFI of Jean-Luc Mélenchon will not become united, and therefore he will be able to have better results than that his party obtained during the European elections. But it seems, it is clear right now that this kind of calculus didn't work, and he most likely miscalculated. But at the same time, it was a logical decision. There is another option, that suggestion that he may understand that the Rassemblement National may have either majority relative or decisive majority, and then fail miserably in 2 years, and like this he would be able to show to the voters that Rassemblement National, for instance, is not a plausible party and is not a plausible candidate for the next presidential elections. So I guess there were different calculus, but whatever happens, it doesn't play in the hand to President Emmanuel Macron, and the cohabitation will be very difficult.
Right. So, one more thing. From what I gathered, French president is responsible for foreign policy, right? He still has some power here. However, the prime minister holds the money, right? So, do you think that some of the France's commitments towards Ukraine, for instance, or NATO will not be met if, for instance, a national rally wins the election?
Honestly speaking, I guess that the majority of the commitment, even maybe all the commitment that was already announced, will be continued, because it is the question of the prestige of the state. And even if Rassemblement National would like to change it through the budget, let's say, it will be harmful to the image of France, and the image of France may suffer. So I guess we will not be at least this year. During 1 year of this cohabitation, I guess we will not be seeing any tectonical changes of the French foreign policy. So for obvious reasons, there will be no troops on the ground in Ukraine in any case, but and even less if Rassemblement National gets to the power. But speaking of, for example, the arms deliveries, the shelf deliveries, I guess we will continue this way.
So we'll know more on Sunday. We'll see how the vote will turn out. Denys Kolesnyk, thank you, sir, for being with us this evening. Much appreciated.
Thank you.